In the spring of 2020, the world as we knew it turned upside down. Schools across the globe were forced to close their doors, leaving millions of students and teachers to navigate a new reality. For many, the transition to remote learning was swift, chaotic, and filled with uncertainty. Teachers became virtual guides in uncharted territory, while students, many for the first time, were isolated from their classmates in the traditional classroom environment. More than 3 years later, we look at where these students and teachers are today. How have they rebuilt, adjusted, or reimagined their lives and careers in post-pandemic world? What lessons have been learned, and how have these experiences shaped their future? Mr. Millar,
Yes.
Could you tell us if you saw a change in motivation in students to do schoolwork after COVID?
After COVID or during COVID too?
It can be both.
Okay. Honestly, I don't think motivation was affected that much. I think it was more habits, maybe just dealing with the weirdness of it, you know? I think afterwards kids who had their routines changed a lot through COVID and not having school, you know, what we could give kid and how we delivered education changed with COVID. So I don't know if kids got used to being enabled to do less. And then I don't know if we dropped our standards maybe a little bit just during that time period. But I mean, what year is it now? 2025. I think now we're kind of like back to the way it was before COVID. But there was a while where, yeah, I don't know, maybe it did change. But I wouldn't say it was motivation. I just think it was expectations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Millar. Cassidy Gagnon, did you feel a change in motivation with your schoolwork after COVID?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Yes. I sure did see a difference.
I definitely saw some effects on my learning.
What habits do you think arose in students in school after the COVID-19?
I think one thing that students got in the habit of doing was everything was online, and I think it was really easy to just kind of look for information online and kind of maybe cut and paste some of that information into your homework or whatever. So I think that students were used to doing that and maybe not diving into the material themselves and coming up with their own answers to questions. And I think I noticed a big change with COVID.
Thank you, Ms.
Hi, Ms. Hamilton. How was your education affected by COVID?
Well, I was in college, so all of my classes went automatically to online, so it was just a different form of learning because I've only been in person, so it was hard to adjust to that and just my schedule being whenever.
Mr. Honer, how do you think test scores changed after COVID?
So that's a good question. I think, like, historically, there's been some skill loss during COVID, so I typically say like a little bit lower, probably than pre-COVID times.
Thanks for that response.
Mr. Soul, how do you think students' motivation changed after COVID?
I think during COVID there was so many late and like there were so many floating due dates that I think it's hard for students now to understand that due dates are like harder due dates, and they want to turn in things like after they're due or late and things like that. So I think that's been a big change.
Ms. Freeman, did you see a change in the quality of students' work after COVID?
Yes, I believe I did see a change in the quality of work. Now, it would range very differently. Some students put a little more effort into it, others did not. I think maybe just having the opportunity to have been on the computer at home during COVID was what made a big difference, you know, and being aware of everything that was going on and all the different assignments coming in. I actually was doing remote teaching during COVID, and it was very tough. I had like every single Google Classroom the student was in, I was in with them. So the assignments were unbelievable, and I think just that being bombarded with that amount of work made a huge difference, and people were not able to concentrate. Probably many other reasons, but I think that's probably one of the main events.
Thank you. This is a story of resilience, adaptation, and the lasting impact of COVID-19 on the lives of those who were at the heart of our education system. This is a journey of students and teachers in a world that changed forever.
COVID made students sit 6 feet apart at all times. Their lives were never the same. The constant fear of COVID made it challenging for students to learn.
Mr. Hardy, how did COVID impact your teaching habits?
I guess I went and did some more like online resources for a while, and then certainly went away from using paper in the classroom during COVID, for passing things around or whatnot. Using more brief videos that I would find, basically trying to make lessons accessible to students who couldn't show up to the building, but then could access them through Google Classroom.
Okay, thank you. Helen, what do you think you got on the math test? Honestly, I think I did pretty good. Helen, you need to make sure you keep your mask on at all times for everyone's safety. Sorry, Lila.
Lila, how has COVID affected your school day?
COVID has affected me a lot.
You can take your mask off for this one. Has not being able to see your friends at school hard for you, Lila?
Not seeing my friends has been really hard for me, and I feel like it affects my depression, and I just feel so alone right now.
Thank you for that response. How do you think that your teaching style changed after COVID?
My style didn't change after COVID. COVID was a giant, like the worst pain in the rump, I guess you could say. I mean, it's all group-based project work we do in here, so it's really difficult. It's not impossible because everyone has phones, and you could like record it yourself and go upload yourself. But that like goes so much against the spirit of movie making. I mean, there are people out there that will go out and make their own movies on their own, but it is by the very nature of what it is, a collaborative effort, and that's like one of the best things you learn from it. So to get that torn away is really difficult. One of the best things was coming back to the classroom and then being able to allow students to work together again, because that has been super beneficial, especially after going through a prolongated amount of time where people missed out on that interaction. So I guess, if anything, I've just come to more than the subject matter even emphasize working together in a collaborative process.
Do you think motivation levels change after COVID?
Yeah. iPad kids. I mean, come on. Like, we can sit here and say that's not the case, but it is the case. And I totally understand that, having been a parent going through COVID myself. Now, my kids are, thankfully, from my point of view, like a little bit younger. If they were this age, when right now they happen to be in 3rd grade and 1st grade, that would be incredibly difficult, that age and above. They were a lot younger, so I think it was a little bit easier. And they weren't so apt to go toward the iPad, but like, I can't imagine a kid, elementary school age to high school age, like, what are you gonna do realistically? I mean, I know what I would do, and I'd be doing the same thing, and I don't think it would be very beneficial for someone like myself.
Thank you for that response.
You're not welcome.
Ms. Earhart, what were some of the challenges you faced teaching during COVID?
I would say the most difficult thing was teaching through a computer, especially for kids that didn't have access, trying to figure out if they were okay and trying to understand if they understood what we were talking about, and making sure that the kids felt connected to school. That honestly was the hardest part.
Ms. Nato, how did you have to change your teaching during COVID, and were there any challenges?
Well, there were plenty of challenges because we had to pivot and change the way that we teach. Students, 1 per table. Students had their own supplies all the time. And we had hybrid, so I was teaching in person, I was teaching remotely, and then we had students that stayed home exclusively all week. So we had 3 cohorts of students, part-time, full-time, and remote.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Nella, how did COVID affect your learning?
It affected me because I couldn't get in-class connections.
Was learning over Zoom hard for you?
It was. I missed most of my Zoom calls because I couldn't figure out how to work it. So it was hard for me technology-wise.
Was it hard not being able to see your classmates in real life?
Yeah, I couldn't make connections with them and get peer work.
Thank you for that response. How do you think COVID-19 affected your learning?
I think it made it like hard for me to learn because even though I was getting my work done really fast, I wasn't actually learning that much because I just rushed through it and do nothing. And then coming back into school with all the like restrictions and only going to school every like other day, that was also really difficult because it was like disruptive to how school normally was.
Thank you.